Welcome back, chapter 24. When we left off, things got pretty serious. Tyler fell off of the rickety old bridge after being attacked by Max. And at the very end, the last paragraph was Tyler lay across a giant rock at a painfully awkward angle, his body bent and twisted. On top of him lay Max. Justin's dog wasn't moving. Chapter 24. Justin liked it here in the cemetery. It was quiet and peaceful, and he felt as if it was the first time he'd been able to think straight in weeks. He tugged at a few loose blades of dry grass, then tossed them aside. The afternoon sun warmed his face, but the heat wasn't so oppressive anymore. Summer was winding down, and he could feel the first hint of fall in the air. That meant school would be starting soon. For the first time ever, that didn't sound so awful to him. After all, Carmen was transferring to his school. Justin's hand absent-mindedly found Max's head and scratched between his ears. Max nuzzled Justin's fingers and let out a little noise that crossed between a yawn, a snort, and a whimper. It was the dog sound for contentment and affection that Justin loved to hear. Max dropped his head into his front paws and thumped his tail in the grass a few times. Justin patted Max's side, careful to avoid the stitches and bandages that would be there for another week or two at least. Max was pretty banged up, but he'd come out remarkably well considering the battle he'd had with the devil dog and the 50-foot drop he'd survived. Justin ran his hand through Max's soft fur and stared at his brother's gravestone. "Hey, Kyle," he began, faltering at first. He'd never sat in a cemetery before, let alone talked to one of its residents. He paused, then decided he had nothing to lose and plenty to say. "People always said that you were a great Marine," Justin started again, "and you were. I'll never be like you, and maybe I figured out that I don't want to be, and that's okay." Justin paused. A plane flew overhead, and a gas lawnmower chugged along somewhere in the distance. Max rolled onto his side and stretched out next to Justin, his ears twitching as a slight breeze picked up the new sounds floating in their direction. "I know we didn't always get along too well," Justin said softly to his brother's headstone, "and I was really mad when you left for the Marines, but I guess lots of brothers are like that sometimes. I'm just sorry we'll never get the chance to grow up together and be friends." Justin's throat felt tight and his hot tears pooled up in his eyes. "I just want to thank you for Max and tell you I love you. As long as I live, Kyle, I'll never forget you." An image flashed through Justin's mind. It was Kyle's face the day he told Justin and their parents that he was going to work with the military dog. Justin had long forgotten about that conversation, but he was replaying it now as if it had happened yesterday. Kyle was so excited talking about the incredible dogs that fought alongside the soldiers all over the world. He was practically beaming, and he said he couldn't wait to meet his new partner. "The dogs are like family to their handlers," Kyle had said. Justin got to his feet. Max hopped up with him. They stood together, side by side, looking at Kyle's grave. Justin read his brother's name for the 100th time in the words Marine, son, brother, hero. Justin raised his hand to his brow, offering his brother a quick salute, just like Kyle had taught him to do. Then he turned and hopped on his bike. Justin rode off for home, Max trotting along at his side.